In a few years, companies will no longer operate the way they do today. And I think we completely underestimate the scale of the change that is coming. Because when we talk about AI in businesses, most people still imagine three things: a chatbot, a document summarization assistant, or a tool that helps write email. But that's just the surface. The real change is not going to happen in a small chat window at the bottom of the screen. It will take place in the real-life operation: order, inventory, production. In all of those hidden places where companies lose time. Today, in many companies, operations are held together by people who spend their days moving information around. An order arrives, its gate enters into the software or Excel. Data is updated manually, meanwhile, the customer waits. And when an error occurs, everyone starts chasing information. But this model will slowly disappear in companies that are implementing AI agents. The order is processed as soon as it arrives. There are no more Excel exports to check inventory, no more rebuilding schedules manually, and teams no longer spend their day transforming data from one place to another. The company begins to react on its own. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like today. To understand this, let's take a simple concrete example: a customer order. A customer sends a purchase order by email. At first glance, nothing special. Yet, in a traditional company, this is often where a long chain of invisible manual tasks begins. The purchase order arrived in an inbox. Someone must open it, go through the PDF, check the order lines, and identify the correct references. But the work doesn't stop there. Then they check inventory, check if production can handle the demand, make sure materials are in stock or on the way. If the problem appears anywhere in the chain, the right people must be informed, a solution must be found, and the plan must be reorganized if necessary. During this whole process, a single data entry error, a wrong reference, or forgotten information can lead to major delay, additional cost, or a problem for the customer. What's crazy is this isn't anything special. It is a daily reality of thousands of companies. At its core, many operations are not truly managed. They are kept alive by competent people who know every shortcut in the system. The people who know where to find information, which colleague to call to unblock a situation, or which Excel file is the correct one among the 10 different versions circulating around. Over time, they also learn which ERP screen actually work and which one you avoid because they are never really up to date. And that is precisely where the problem lies. It's not that company lack software. More often than not, they have too much of it. It's not that they lack data either. They generate it everywhere, every single day. The real problem is that nobody has a clear view of what is happening in real time. Information is scattered across email, file, different tools, and thousands of ERP screens. To understand a situation, someone still has to open the right module, find the right data, and personally connect it to everything else. As long as the company remains small, this model works reasonably well. At 10 people, everyone talks to each other. At 20 people, a few Excel files are added. At 50 people, an ERP is implemented to regain control. Then, the company continues to grow. Teams become specialized, process multiply, data accumulates. And gradually, the ERP that was supposed to simplify the organization becomes a labyrinth. And the company can be in a rather absurd situation. It has more tools than ever, more processes, and more data. Yet, it understands what is actually happening more slowly, and above all, it acts more slowly. This is the weird reality of traditional operation. For years, companies believed the problem was a lack of software, so they digitalized. They added ERPs, business application, dashboard, and automation. But the more they digitalized, the more they discovered that the problem was not the absence of technology or simply storing information. The problem was making intelligence flow throughout the company. In reality, a company does not only lose time executing manual tasks, it mostly loses time between tasks. The moment a customer sends an order and the moment someone processes it, the moment a supplier announces a delay and the moment production is informed, the moment inventory becomes critical and the moment someone notices it, or between the moment an invoice doesn't match the contract and the moment the discrepancy is finally detected. These delays seem insignificant when viewed individually. Yet, when accumulated across hundreds of decisions every week, they become massive source of friction. And that is where delays, errors, stockouts, last-minute emergencies are the constant feeling of chasing problem come from. And it is precisely at this point that AI agents change the rule of the game. Because an AI agent inside a company is not simply a tool answering questions or making reports. It is an actor within the system. When information arrives, it reads it, understands its context, checks business rules, see what could go wrong, and act immediately when needed. It can update data, trigger an alert, launch a workflow, or give information to another agent. And most importantly, it never works in isolation. One action triggers another. A procurement decision can automatically impact production. A change in production can update logistics. Information received by email can modify an entire execution plan within seconds. The company no longer operates as a succession of people passing information from one person to another. It operates as a system capable of reacting in real time. To see what this changes in practice, imagine that we are visiting a company today. It is Wednesday morning, 8:42 a.m. A customer has just sent a purchase order by email. At first glance, nothing extraordinary. A few products, a delivery date, and a few references. Yet, this simple email is about to set the entire company in motion. Let's start with customer service. In a traditional company, someone will need to open the email, read the PDF, find the references, verify the price, and then enter the order into the ERP. Here, that work has already been done. The order entry agent has read the document, recognized the products, apply the correct commercial condition, and prepare an order ready for validation. If something is unclear, it's flag it to the human. A few seconds later, the order is validated. And that is when things become interesting. It doesn't remain inside the sales model. It immediately spread across the company. Now, let's look at the warehouse. Inventory is recalculated, reservations are updated, and potential risks are identified. Then, the information flows up to production. The scheduling system automatically checks whether the order can be absorbed given the available capacity, available raw materials, and all the other commitments already in place. And while we continue moving through the company, an event occurs. A supplier announces a delay. In many companies, this simple email would trigger half a day of coordination. Someone has to see the message, assess the impact, inform production, revise the schedule, and sometimes even call the customer. Here, the delay is detected immediately. The reschedule is recalculated, priorities are reorganized, and a few minutes later, a new production sequence is proposed to the planning manager, who just needs to approve it. The customer doesn't see anything, and the delivery commitment is maintained. This is where things really change. In a traditional company, every step depends on someone seeing the information, understanding it, and passing it to the rest of the organization. Here, the system reacts on its own, and that different changes everything. 11:20 a.m., a few hours after our order, a new event occurs. A supplier announces a delivery delay. In many companies, this email can sit in an inbox for several hours before someone realizes its impact. Here, the company has already detected it. Now, imagine that you are the production manager. It's 11:20 a.m., you are in a meeting. Meanwhile, somewhere in your inbox, a message has just arrived. Subject, delivery delay. 3 words that can mess up an entire week. Because behind that email is more than just a simple delay. The raw material won't arrive. Production may be pushed back. Some order could be shipped late, and some customer may need to be informed. But for now, nobody knows. The email is sitting in an inbox, and this is a huge problem. In many companies, problems don't start when something happens. They begin when the event is discovered. Sometimes a few minutes later, sometimes several hours later, sometimes not until the next morning. And during all that time, the company continues moving forward as if nothing has happened. Even though the schedule is already outdated, decisions are being made with incomplete information, and nobody can yet see the chain reaction that is beginning to form. In an autonomous company, it's played out differently. The email is read the moment it's arrived, the system understands that is a supplier delay, it notifies the affected orders, immediately check what it affects, and then ask itself a single question. How do we preserve the promise made to the customer? It then recalculates the schedule, reorganizes priorities, and proposes the best available option. The manager simply received, here's the problem, here's the impact, here are the best solutions. Approve? And this is where the difference becomes remarkable. Nobody had to discover the problem. The system detected it and dealt with it before anyone even thought to look for it. This changed everything. In the old model, the company operates reactively after something happens. It discovers problems when they already exist, fixes mistakes after the fact, and informs the customer when the delay has already become a reality. In the new model, it begins to operate proactively. The system detects weak signals, measures the consequences, and proposes the most relevant action before the situation goes worse. Humans finally regain their true role. They can decide, arbitrate, validate, and improve. No more spending entire days copying data, searching for information, or even chasing the next problem. Now let's move forward a few days and look at a product that is selling a little faster than expected. It's just a few extra orders, then a few more. Nothing alarming for the moment, until someone realizes that inventory is almost depleted. That's when the chaos begins. Urgent orders, last-minute reorganization, customer who need to be informed, and everything that's come with it. In a traditional company, the problem is discovered when it has already become real. Here, the system is monitoring everything else. The inventory trajectory. It combines sales data, open orders, supplier lead time, and forecast, and then detect the signal. If nothing changes, stock out in 12 days. Suddenly, the company gains something rare. Time. It has time to act before the problem even exists. That's the real transformation. The system no longer simply shows what is happening, it shows what is going to happen. At this point, you might think this is just about operation, but it's not. The information didn't stop at production. It keeps flowing. Imagine a salesperson on the phone with a customer. A quick question. If I place an order today, when can you deliver it? In many companies, that question immediately triggers an investigation. Someone has to check inventory, ask production, confirm supply availability, and then wait for someone to come back with an answer. Here, the answer already exists because the system continuously knows the state of inventory production, capacity, current orders, and supplier constraint. As a result, the salesperson immediately gets a reliable answer. And what's crazy is that nobody had to interrupt it to improve it. Basically, this may be the deepest transformation of all. Information stopped being scattered across teams, it's become accessible to everyone exactly when it is needed. And at that moment, you realize something important. This transformation is not only about productivity, it's also about trust. The customer receives more reliable delivery dates. The salesperson can make commitment without guessing. Production works with consistent information without consistently being interrupted to answer the same question. And above all, the company starts trusting its own data again. Because ultimately, a high-performing organization isn't the one that has the most information. It's the one that can rely on that operation to act. The same logic applies to procurement and finance. A supplier invoice arrives. In traditional company, someone has to verify that everything matches. The purchase order, the receipt, the negotiated price, and the delivered quantities. It's an essential but repetitive work, and that's precisely why small errors often go unnoticed. A price is slightly different. A quantity is incorrect or a control condition has been overlooked. And month after month, this discrepancy ends up becoming expensive. In an agent-driven company, the system checks automatically. The agent compares the invoice, the purchase order, and the receipt. If everything matches, it prepares the approval. If it detects a discrepancy, it instantly says why. The invoice price doesn't match the contract, or the received quantity doesn't match the invoiced quantity. Once again, people don't have to verify everything. They only step in when a decision needs to be made. That is the logic of the autonomous company. Humans don't disappear. They stop being used to move information between systems that don't communicate with each other. The customer service manager no longer spends the day entering orders. They supervise exception. The buyer no longer spends time matching invoices. They negotiate with supplier. The planner no longer rebuilds schedules every time something unexpected happens. They arbitrate the decision that truly matters. The logistic managers no longer update statuses all day long. They handle sensitive situations. And when an audit or product recall occurs, the quality manager no longer begins a race against time. Traceability is already in place, there is less execution, less coordination, and more judgment and decision making. Because in many manufacturing companies, traceability is a permanent premise and an occasional crisis. Everything works fine until the day you need to prove something. An audit, a product recall, a customer request, a non-conformity, and suddenly the entire organization starts searching. Batches, raw materials, manufacturing orders, shipment, and documents. It can take hours, sometimes longer, and the company slows down just to reconstruct its own history. In an agent-driven company, that chain is built continuously. Every incoming batch is linked to production, then to shipment throughout the course of operations. As a result, when a request arrives, there is no need to rebuild anything. You simply extract the information, and that difference changes everything. Quality recall is no longer a crisis situation. It becomes a structured operation. Which batches are affected? Which customer receives them? Which action need to be triggered? The system provides the information, and the human validates them and decides what's happened next. Now, let's take a step back. You might think that all of this is simply a collection of agents. One agent for orders, one for production, another for procurement, another for logistics, and so on. But that's not what is revolutionary. What changes everything is that they work within the same system. They share the same data, react to the same event, and most importantly, they collaborate. The output of one becomes the input of another. That is the difference between automation and an agentic ERP. An automation executes a task, an isolated agent assists a user, but an agentic ERP connects the entire company. That is probably the true future of operations. It won't be human being replaced by AI. It will be company that no longer need human copy and paste work to function. That's exactly why chatbots are not enough. A chatbot can answer a question, summarize a document, or explain a situation. But it can only act on what it can see. If data is scattered, processes are fragmented, and business rules are spread throughout the company, AI remains at the surface and never becomes truly operational. For an agent to act, it needs a foundation. It needs a system of record, reliable data, business rules, workflow, and an environment in which it can read, write, act, and be audited. Otherwise, all you get is a powerful AI sitting on top of a system that remains chaotic. Automating chaos doesn't eliminate it, it simply makes it faster. That is why the autonomous company is not created by adding a chatbot to an existing ERP. It emerges when the system of record and the system of action are designed together. When the ERP is no longer used only to record what has happened, but to orchestrate what should happen next. That is exactly Piston approach. An agentic ERP designed so that agents work directly within the company operation. Orders, inventory, procurement, production, logistics, quality, and finance. And most importantly, so they can work alongside the teams. Because the goal is not to replace humans, it is to remove everything that prevents them from creating value. Now let's zoom out even more. Since the beginning of this video, we've been following an order, a supplier delay, a stockout risk, an invoice, and several operations decisions. But we've only seen part of the system. Let's go to the CEO office because this is where it becomes clear. In many companies, the most important questions are also the hardest to answer. Why are margins declining? Why are central orders less profitable? Why is cash becoming tighter? Why is the supplier becoming a risk? Getting an answer often requires exports, reports, multiple meetings, and a great deal of interpretation. And at best, what's come out of that process is an hypothesis. In an autonomous company, this question can be asked directly to the system. Why are margins declining? A few seconds later, 3 suppliers have increased their price. Product X has lost 4 margin points. Here are the affected orders, here are the possible alternatives. And suddenly, the role of the CEO changed as well. No longer managing through reports that describe the past, they now manage with a real-time understanding of what is actually happening. That is the most important consequence of all. When the entire company operates from the same reality, decisions become faster, simpler, and more reliable. And once you understand that, you realize this transformation goes far beyond a simple productivity gain. A company whose operations flow naturally can do things that were previously much more difficult. In practical terms, it can absorb more orders, react faster to unexpected events, protect its margin, serve customers more effectively, and most importantly, grow without seeing complexity increase at the same pace. For years, growth has always meant the same thing. More customers, more orders, more suppliers, more coordination, more meetings, more files, and ultimately more friction. But when agents absorb part of that complexity, the equation changes. The company can become larger without becoming proportionally heavier. And for operations, that is a major shift. Because ultimately, the real challenge is not automation. It is the ability to make information, decision, and action flow across the entire organization. And that is the most important revelation in this entire story. The CEO no longer discovers problems after the fact. By the time they look at the situation, the company has already begun to react. Autonomous companies will not win because they have better AI. They will win because they detect problems earlier, understand them faster, and act before everyone else. In operation, that advantage quickly becomes a competitive advantage. And here's the thing, this company won't look different from the outside. They will have the same offices, the same factories, the same teams. But internally, something fundamental will have changed. Information will move without friction, problems will surface before they become crises, and teams will stop spending their day connecting systems that never designed to work together. That's why this transformation will be easy to miss. The first autonomous companies won't announce themselves. They will simply operate with less chaos, fewer delays, and better decisions. While others are still reacting to problems, they will already be solving them. For decades, ERP have helped companies recall what happened. The next step is helping companies decide what to do next. That is exactly Piston's vision. Building an agentic ERP where humans and agents work together to keep information moving, absorb complexity, and coordinate operations at scale. Because the real goal is not to replace people. It's to remove the operational frictions that prevents them from doing their best work. When information can move on its own, humans can focus on what only humans can do. Making decisions, setting direction, and driving the business forward.